So what do you think? Shall we start?
Yep, let's make a start. Who wants to kick off?
I would like to.
I don't mind. Oh, go for it. Let's rock, paper, scissors.
The brain.
How do we start remotely?
Okay, flip a coin. Who's going first?
No, go for it. I'll follow you. I'll follow you.
Okay, all right. Okay, chapter 13, the brain. A broadcasting and receiving station for thought. The 12th step toward riches. More than 20 years ago, the author, working in conjunction with the late Dr. Alexander Graham Bell and Dr. Elmer R. Gates, observed that every human brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thoughts. Through the medium of the ether, in a fashion similar to that employed by the radio broadcasting principle, every human brain is capable of picking up vibrations of thought that are being released by other brains. In connection with the statement in the preceding paragraph, compare and consider the description of the creative imagination, as outlined in the chapter on imagination. The creative imagination is the receiving set of the brain, which receives thoughts released by the brains of others. It is the agency of communication between one's conscious or reasoning mind and the four sources from which one may receive thought stimuli. When stimulated or stepped up to a high rate of vibration, the mind becomes more receptive to the vibration of thought, which reaches it through the ether from outside sources. This stepping up process takes place through the positive emotions or the negative emotions. Through the emotions, the vibrations of thought may be increased. Vibrations of exceedingly high rate are the only vibrations picked up and carried by the ether from one brain to another. Thought is energy traveling at an exceedingly high rate of vibration. Thought, which has been modified or stepped up by any of the major emotions, vibrates at a much higher rate than ordinary thought, and it is this type of thought which passes from one brain to another through the broadcasting machinery of the human brain. The emotion of sex stands at the head of the list of human emotions as far as intensity and driving forces are concerned. The brain, which has been stimulated by the emotion of sex, vibrates at a much more rapid rate than it does when that emotion is quiescent or absent. The result of sex transmutation is the increase of the rate of vibration of thoughts to such a pitch that the creative imagination becomes highly receptive to ideas, which it picks up from the ether. On the other hand, when the brain is vibrating at a rapid rate, it not only attracts thoughts and ideas released by other brains through the medium of the ether, but it gives to one's own thoughts that feeling, which is essential before those thoughts will be picked up and acted upon by one's subconscious mind. Thus, you will see that the broadcasting principle is the factor through which you mix feeling or emotion with your thoughts and pass them on to your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the sending station of the brain, through which vibrations of thought are broadcast. The creative imagination is the receiving set, through which the vibrations of thought are picked up from the ether. With the important factors of the subconscious mind, the faculty of the creative imagination, which constitute the sending and receiving sets of your mental broadcasting machinery, consider now the principle of autosuggestion, which is the medium by which you may put into operation your broadcasting station. Through the instructions described in the chapter on autosuggestion, you were definitely informed of the method by which desire may be transmuted into its monetary equivalent. Operation of your mental broadcasting station is a comparatively simple procedure. You have but 3 principles to bear in mind and to apply. When you wish to use your broadcasting station, the subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion, The stimuli through which you put these three principles into action have been described. The procedures begins with desire. The depression brought the world to the very borderline of understanding of the forces which are intangible and unseen. Through the ages which have passed, man has depended too much upon his physical senses and has limited his knowledge to physical things, which he could see, touch, weigh, and measure. We are now entering the most marvelous of all ages, an age which will teach us something of the intangible forces of the world about us. Perhaps we shall learn, as we pass through this age, that the other self is more powerful than the physical self we see when we look into a mirror. Sometimes man speak lightly of the intangibles with the things which they cannot perceive through any of their five senses. And when we hear them, it should remind us that all of us are controlled by forces which are unseen and intangible. The whole of the mankind has not the power to control the intangible force wrapped up in the rolling waves of the oceans. Man has not the capacity to understand the intangible force of gravity, which keeps this little earth suspended in midair and keeps man from falling from it, much less the power to control that force. Man is entirely subservient to the intangible force which comes with a thunderstorm, and he is just as helpless in the presence of the intangible force of electricity. Nay, he does not even know what electricity is, where it comes from, or what its purpose. Nor is this by any means the end of man's ignorance in connection with things unseen and intangible. He does not understand the intangible force and the intelligence wrapped up in the soil of the earth, the force which provides him with every morsel of food he eats, every article of clothing he wears, every dollar he carries in his pockets. The dramatic story of the brain. Last but not least, man, with all of his boasted culture and education, understands little or nothing of the intangible force, the greatest of all the intangibles of thought. He knows but little concerning the physical brain and its vast network of intricate machinery through which the power of thought is translated into its material equivalent. But he is now entering an age which shall yield enlightenment on the subject. Already men of science have begun to turn their attention to the study of this stupendous thing called a brain. And while they are still in the kindergarten stage of their studies, they have uncovered enough knowledge to know that the central switchboard of the human brain, the number of lines which connect the brain cells one with another, equal the figure 1, followed by 15 million ciphers. The figure is so stupendous, said Dr. C. Judson Herrick of the University of Chicago, that astronomical figures dealing with hundreds of millions of light years become insignificant by comparison. I'm ready to take a break. Line 131.
Okay. It has been determined that there are from 10 billion to 14 billion nerve cells, and we know that they're arranged in definite patterns. These arrangements are not haphazard, they are orderly. Recently developed method of electrophysiology.
Lorraine, we're losing you. Are you able to maybe adjust your headset or?
Hey, I can continue if you want, or somebody else wants to. We're going to give her a moment.
Well, I can take over reading if we can.
Okay, go ahead. And then she can pick up again when she's back on after you've read.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Okay, I'm going to start that line again, or that paragraph again.
Okay.
It has been determined that there are from 10 billion to 14 billion nerve cells in the human cerebral cortex, and we know that these are arranged in definite patterns. These arrangements are not haphazard. They are orderly. Recently developed methods of electrophysiology draw off action currents from very precisely located cells or fibers with microelectrodes, amplify them with radio tubes, and record potential differences to a millionth of a volt. It is inconceivable that such a network of intricate machinery should be in existence for the sole purpose of carrying on the physical functions incidental to growth and maintenance of the physical body. Wow, that's amazing thought. It is not likely that the same system which gives billions of brain cells the media for communication one with another provides also the means of communication with other intangible forces. That's a question, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice. I was reading away there. Sorry. I'm reading and I'm thinking, I just thought, is it the right word? And then, yeah, nobody was there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can I carry on? Where was I don't know how long I've been gone.
So do you want to try taking over, Lorraine, or do you want me to keep going?
Reading. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go for it. Are we?
What line did you end from, Cheryl?
So sorry.
147.
I can wait. Sorry, I didn't realize how much time.
It's just the 2 paragraphs after where you started.
Okay, I can carry on.
Okay.
After this book had been written, just before the manuscript went to the publisher, there appeared in the New York Times an editorial showing that at least one great university and one intelligent investigator in the field of mental phenomena are carrying on an organized research through which conclusions have been reached on many of those described in this and the following.
Oh, we're losing you again.
She ought to go directly through Zoom and not through Skype. That's what I found helpful when I got lost.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right,
Well,
Cheryl, do you want to pick it up again?
Yeah, I'll take over
Thanks.
again. The editorial briefly analyzed the work carried on by Dr. Rhine and his associates at Duke University, viz. What is telepathy? A month ago, we cited on this page some of the remarkable results achieved by Professor Rhine and his associates in Duke University, more than 100,000 tests to determine the existence of telepathy and clairvoyance. These results were summarized in the first 2 articles in Harper's Magazine. In the second, which has now appeared, the author, E.H. Wright, attempts to summarize what has been learned or what it seems reasonable to infer regarding the exact nature of these extrasensory modes of perception. The actual existence of telepathy and clairvoyance now seems to some scientists enormously probable as the result of Rhine's experiments. Various recipients were asked to name as many cards in a special pack as they could without looking at them and without other sensory access to them. About a score of men and women were discovered who could regularly name so many of the cards correctly that there was not one chance in many a million of their having done their feats by luck or accident. But how did they do them? These powers, assuming that they exist, do not seem to be sensory. There is no known organ for them. The experiments worked just as well at distances of several hundred miles as they did in the same room. These facts also dispose, in Mr. Wright's opinion, of the attempt to explain telepathy or clairvoyance through any physical theory of radiation. All known forms of radiant energy decline inversely as the square of the distance transversed. Telepathy and clairvoyance do not, but they do vary through physical causes as our other mental powers do. Contrary to widespread opinion, they do not improve when the recipient is asleep or half asleep, but on the contrary, when he is most wide awake and alert. Ryan discovered that a narcotic will invariably lower a recipient's score, while a stimulant will always send it higher. The most reliable performer apparently cannot make a good score unless he tries to do his best. One conclusion that Wright draws with some confidence is that telepathy and clairvoyance are really one and the same gift. That is, the faculty that sees a card face down on a table seems to be exactly the same one that reads a thought residing only in another mind. There are several grounds for believing this. So far, for example, the two gifts have been found in every person who enjoys either of them. In every one so far, the two have been of equal vigor, almost exactly. Screens, walls, distances have no effect at all on either. Wright advances from this conclusion to express what he puts forward as no more than the mere hunch that other extrasensory experiences, prophetic dreams, premonitions of disaster, and the like may also prove to be part of the same faculty. The reader is not asked to accept any of these conclusions unless he finds it necessary, but the evidence that Ryan has piled up must remain impressive. In view of Dr. Ryan's announcement in connection with the conditions under which the mind responds to what he terms extrasensory modes of perception, I now feel privileged to add to his testimony by stating that my associates and I have discovered what we believe to be the ideal conditions under which the mind can be stimulated so that the sixth sense described in the next chapter can be made to function in a practical way. The conditions to which I refer consist of a close working alliance between myself and two members of my staff. Through experimentation and practice, we have discovered how to stimulate our minds by applying the principle used in connection with the invisible counselors described in the next chapter, so that we can, by a process of blending our three minds into one, find the solution to a great variety of personal problems which are submitted by my clients. The procedure is very simple. We sit down at a conference table, clearly state the nature of the problem we have under consideration, then begin discussing it. Each contributes whatever thoughts may occur. The strange thing about this method of mind stimulation is that it places each participant in communication with unknown sources of knowledge, definitely outside his own experience. If you understand the principle described in the chapter on the mastermind, you of course recognize the roundtable procedure here described as being a practical application of the mastermind. This method of mind stimulation through harmonious discussion of definite subjects between three people illustrates the simplest and most practical use of the mastermind. By adopting and following a similar plan, any student of this philosophy may come into possession of the famous Carnegie formula briefly described in the introduction. If it means nothing to you at this time, mark this page and read it again after you have finished the last chapter. The depression was a blessing in disguise. It reduced the whole world to a new starting point that gives everyone a new opportunity.
Nice. Let's mastermind.
Yeah.
I was really that goes kind of almost what they're talking about with working with the mind and the transferring of thought and stuff. It's almost it kind of goes hand in hand with the sixth sense in a way when you're tuned in, I guess. But it was like the beginning of the chapter there was talking about the parts of the brain of the receiving and the transferring of thought, the vibrations of thought, and being it's like the broadcasting and receiving station of the brain. That seems to be very evident of just kind of without getting into politics, it reminds me, it's kind of being the witness of seeing all of the demonstrations, the different things, the rallies have been going on with the U.S. events, inaugural events like that, and around it, in today's Women's March, that, you know, it's very evident in seeing how transparent the collective consciousness around the world. It's like that broadcasting station of the brain. It's like, you know, everybody, you know, if you get caught up in it, you're in it. If you're tuned and you're aware of it, or you decide to be, you know, individual from it, you know, that's another story. But it's really interesting how to be able to witness that.
Yeah, I think that we
being the
definitely
observer.
pick up the vibration of that when we're made aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then today, you know, such a vast difference from yesterday and today. Today being a women's marches, where it was in a totally peaceful demonstrations, total peace out there. It's like, and you know, whereas the other, there wasn't the. It was really interesting. It's very different energy. Anyway.
Yeah. I think when you start taking more notice of how you're perceiving energy, you can start to notice the different energies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So again, he talks about the high vibration of the mind when you're under the sexual transportation. Again. And you know, like, what surprised me here was he said it's at the head of the list of the human emotions as far as intensity. But I guess, you know, at first that struck me as strange because I thought love was the first. But I guess he went under that chapter. He said that the emotion of sex, when it's coupled with love,
Yeah,
is the highest.
yeah. And
Right?
and he says here it's the intensity and driving force of the sex drive, but yeah, coupled with love gives you a brain with it, so to speak. Yeah, it directs it in a much more constructive manner.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I found really interesting, and I'm just trying to get my head around it again now. In line 15, he says that, well, starting at line 12, really, about the creative imagination, as outlined in the chapter on imagination. The creative imagination is the receiving set of the brain, which receives thoughts released by the brains of others. And then it says, it is the agency of communication between one conscious or reasoning mind and the four sources from which one may receive thought stimuli, which would be our other senses.
Yeah, it has to be the other senses, right? But is there only 4?
I'm thinking now that it's infinite intelligence, other people's minds.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to remember what the other ones are.
I know. It's just
for, of course, your physical senses, and then your sixth sense. So there's the physical and the mental, maybe the mental and spiritual.
Smell, taste, and touch. There's 5 without the 6.
5, yeah. So that's not.
So
I think
those are the.
It's from
Those are
infinite
the knowable.
intelligence.
Yep.
And it's from the thoughts of others.
Yep.
I'm sure that's what it is, Nicole, but I just can't think of what the other 2 are either.
Oh, you mean the other that are non-physical?
Yeah.
Senses. Well, maybe we ought to look at restart. Maybe we ought to go ahead and on the sixth sense. Maybe that'll help us. Interesting.
I think we should be able to remember.
And I think we should too.
Yeah. Subconscious mind, the minds of others, infinite intelligence.
Oh.
And the 4th.
Where can we find that?
We got the conscious, the subconscious. See the imagination, visualization. The subconscious mind creative imagination, auto-suggestion. That's down on in the chapter starting at line 69.
Oh, other people's subconscious minds.
Ah,
That's the
What's that?
fourth one. Our own subconscious,
okay.
other people's subconscious, other people's thoughts, and infinite intelligence.
So say those one more time, those four.
Subconscious mind of others, our own
Right.
subconscious mind or unconscious mind, the
Okay.
thoughts of others, and infinite intelligence. They're the four avenues that we receive
Mm.
No, it's
Okay.
really
communication.
on line 26. It says vibrations of an exceedingly high rate are the only vibrations picked up and carried by the ether from one brain to another.
And what was really interesting about that too on line 23, we know this, but I wanted to stress it, positive emotions and negative emotions.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
they both can be carried, right?
Yep, they both increase. And something else I thought about here was we know that we increase our vibrations through emotion to be able to get that through to our subconscious mind. But he talks about here how our subconscious mind in line 54 is the sending station.
Okay, yeah.
So that is the direct link with infinite intelligence, or sometimes he calls it the gateway to infinite intelligence. So, you know, getting those thoughts through to our subconscious mind to be sent out into the ether through through stepping up the vibration of them with emotion.
Yeah. So I think that's the
There
main
she is.
idea, is that we can think with our conscious mind all we want, but unless it's through to the subconscious as a belief, right? And then it's not going anywhere. And maybe that's a good thing in some cases, right?
Yep, exactly. And I don't think we could apply emotion to something that we don't believe in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, even fear. Fear is just a belief that something bad's going to happen. Because if you didn't believe it was going to happen, you wouldn't fear it.
It wouldn't be
fear and faith.
worry. It would just be worry if there was no emotion attached to it, right? It would be just a what.
Yeah, it would just be a fleeting concern which you would dismiss because you didn't believe that would happen.
Exactly. But the belief is what, or the emotion, believing that it is going to happen, or it really could happen. That's when it steps that up to fear.
Yeah, yeah. And so if we can use that same process on the positive things, to believe that they will happen, because they will if we believe them. It's just got to make ourselves believe them. So believing that if we believe them, they will happen might help us believe them.
Kind of a tongue twister.
And that's when we can apply emotion to it, because we believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the belief is created through autosuggestion in the next in the next paragraph, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really looks like it's pretty straightforward. It's just hard to do, right? It's hard to wrap our beliefs around, because we've been so programmed.
Yeah, I think it's the consistency. It's being consistent that might be hard.
Yes, consistently, right? Because we just lapse back into logic and present circumstances and our perceptions and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and that's where he emphasizes the fact that habit is such a important thing for our success, because we are creatures of habit. So we need to actually form the habit of thinking with our inside rather than what we see on the outside.
Right.
Because that's what makes the outside. So if we start on the inside, eventually it'll manifest on the outside.
Yeah. And
then it's going to get easier.
It should, shouldn't it, eh? I've been just trying to tell myself, when I can catch myself, that, you know what, what I think I'm feeling, what I think I'm seeing, and what I think my circumstances are, that really they are just the perception of how I see them. I don't know how at this point to change that perception, but I'm just trying to catch myself so that I realize it's not real. It's real somehow, but it's just the way I'm looking at it that's making it so.
Yeah, that coin idea that Bob Proctor had a while ago, one side was smooth and the other side was rough, having that in your pocket as a reminder that even though this situation looks rough, it actually has a smooth side because of the law of polarity. Every negative circumstance has a positive aspect. So having that coin to remind you could be a good way to get into the habit of doing that.
Yeah, and that is a really hard one to remember for me. Again, it's perception, and it's just such a habit of just accepting what your logical mind is telling you is going on.
Yeah, and Napoleon Hill calls it the seed of equivalent benefit. So when things are not looking so great for me, I always think to myself, awesome, it's going to be the equivalent benefit to this.
Oh, good one. Yeah. Okay, then. This last few weeks, and I've worked so hard, and it's been just so difficult. Man, have I got big things coming then if it's the polar opposite?
Yeah, right? and he says, but you need to keep your eye out for them. You need to be in expectation of them. Otherwise you may miss them. So you know that you've had a hard time, so keep your eye out for the seed of equivalent benefit. And he also says, remember, it's just a seed, so you will get an idea or a push in a certain direction. You have to make sure you're ready for it, so you jump on it.
Yeah, good one. Again, I saw somebody, I was looking for something on YouTube. Somebody came up that I've never seen before, and it was like the title was Manifest Whatever You Want, something in 48 hours. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to see what this girl has to say. And again, she was talking about Pam Grout with that E squared, how you ask the universe to show you, bring you a miracle, but you have got to be watching for it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you have to have expectation.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. You have to believe that it's going to show up.
Yep.
You could miss it if you're not paying attention. If you have your head down instead of up, right?
Yeah, and not too much of a preconceived idea of exactly what it will be or how it will come.
Open to it, just open to the...
Yeah.
To something coming. I think the other day you mentioned a book, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. It's definitely Napoleon Hill. His son's reading the book.
Yeah, it may actually be his grandson now I think about it. But
and I've been falling asleep at the same part, but there is something about growth. It's something about going through maybe challenging times. That is exactly what they're supposed to be. Because this is about growth. This is about you becoming somebody else through this period of time. And I keep, do you know what, that's really bad, but I literally in the same place. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm going to have to listen to this during the day. It's really, really good. So thank you for putting me on to that. But it did make me think about, because he was talking about the law of growth. Is it the law of growth? Is that what he says?
Yes, yeah. Growth and expansion, I think.
Yeah, so it made me look again at, just my own experiences and things that I've been through. Absolutely, I came out of that as somebody else. And my daughter, I know you all know my story anyway, but I wasn't living with my daughter for a period of time. And even she has changed. Like we were talking about just how... how her outlook on life and how she has grown. And before, I think it was about a year ago, she was having a few challenges with her friends. She was the plumpest one. So it wasn't challenges. This was her internal belief. She just felt big compared to her friends. And we were talking the other day, she was there, we're standing there in the mirror, when you're getting ready, it's just girls in our house. So we just, so we're chatting away. And she said, do you know, Mum, I can't believe I used to think and feel like that. She said, that's just so many other things have happened that made me realize how ridiculous it was for me to be so focused on how I looked. She said, now I'm perfectly comfortable in my own skin. Like, I don't know if she, you know, maybe she would have come to that understanding eventually. I don't know, but because of our circumstances and because of other things, other problems, what she was worried about before just paled. It was nothing. And so she's come out of this situation for herself. There's lots of, I've got lots and lots of different examples, but in so many ways, she's grown. I've grown. We've grown. And we look back at what we consider to be, you know, hell, but really, you know, and I think in the book, he says something on the audio, he says something like these things, when people are, what's the word? You are just, it's not that you're, what's it called when you're just not complacent, but your life is just ticking along nicely. A curveball will be thrown for you on purpose to, I'm ad-libbing now, by the way, that's not what he said.
We get,
but,
we get the essence.
Yeah, so your life's ticking along quite nicely, or it's just as it is, you're plodding away, and all of a sudden, everything comes crashing down to whatever degree. A deliberate move, you know, that happens on purpose in order for you to grow, in order for you to sort of think about, you know, how things are and how you're going to come out of this and what you've learned and how you know what I mean? It is about growth. And I can absolutely say that it's true. So I look at things, and I totally agree with you, Cheryl. It is about perception. I have to remind myself constantly, okay, let's turn this around. And that's generally, I find myself having to remember that not because things are happening to me, but I might be a little bit short. Somebody might say something and I might be irritated. And in order to manage my own, you know, feelings at that, I have to try and say, all right, Lorraine, well, maybe from their perspective. So little things like that, I play that kind of little game with myself. But generally, anytime a curveball comes to me again, I'll be like, oh, really?
Interesting perspectives, right?
What do I have to learn now? How much more can I grow?
That's such, I can really understand why all of the leaders tell us to, you know, set goals that are a little bit scary so that we're forcing our own growth, because otherwise, the universe does throw us a curveball to force us to grow, and it may not be in a way we want to. So we may as well set it up ourselves so that we're growing in the direction we want to grow, rather than have something come along to force us to grow in a way that's not very, you know,
exactly. Not the way that we would have planned.
And there was a cute little video on Facebook a while ago. This penguins were coming and jumping off this big high diving board, and there was one, he kept going to the edge and then coming back, going to the edge and coming back, and he went to the edge and one of the other ones pushed him in. And the universe is just like that.
And it's so good to just think, or to be able to get that little understanding now. Like for me, I feel totally empowered having listened to that. So thank you very much for pointing me in the direction of that book, because it's true. Things that used to be important, not anymore.
And you can ask yourself that too, or this is really hard, or this is really painful, and then you can ask yourself, compared to what?
Yeah.
Which book was that you guys are referring?
It's You Can Work Your Own Miracles. It's Napoleon Hill. He wrote this book 40 years after meeting Andrew Carnegie, and he's written it with the perspective of all of the insights that he gained throughout that whole time, and new insights that he mentions in the book. But he's written it under the guise of going to the dentist without feeling pain. But it's actually way deeper than that.
I've been reading it for a week. I haven't got beyond chapter 3. Like I just.
Is there a PDF of it?
I don't know. I've just got it on Audible.
Me too.
I can admit.
Can you share that? Can you share that audio?
I don't think so.
Mine's on my phone.
It's a subscription through audible.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless you had to order it.
It may be
like
on YouTube. There's a possibility. I haven't actually looked anywhere else for it to say.
It was just, it's really good, Kelly. It's just the first time I've actually considered that actually these things are deliberate.
For an example of the update that he talks about how, through all of his research and all of his writing, he always said that it was the successful people that he studied to get the answers. But 40 years on, having matured spiritually, he realized that the unsuccessful people have the answers as well. And studying them also gives us...
Yeah. And they just have to tap into it and get to that place where they're ready for it.
Is that me or you? No.
So yeah, good book. I highly recommend it. I'm listening to it again now as well after we spoke about it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
And I had another afterthought after you were sharing what you're sharing, Lorraine, and I because there's this phrase that I found helpful at times to kind of quiet the mind from getting into a reaction response, or just anyway, a certain kind of point of view is everything is opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is opposite of what it appears to be. And repeating that is like a mantra 3 times. Like that, it quiets the mind.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it really does take. It's like, it kind of switches you off from being caught in that one alignment of that one perspective.
Yeah, that's important, is to get out of the perspective that you're in.
Yeah, helps to shift the paradigm.
Right.
Cool.
I started listening to that audio, or those audios, and what was that? There was like a gazillion of them, and I can't.
How do you use your God power? You mean how do you use your God power?
Using God power.
Yeah.
I've had to put that kind of setting on hold while I'm getting this work done. I'm telling you that I put it in such a way that I'm going, oh, for Pete's sake, that just makes so much sense.
Isn't it brilliant?
It's brilliant. Yes.
I feel like I'm watching Sesame Street, but it's brilliant.
It's a creative way of putting things into a really easy style perspective.
Yeah, and just that word meaning, whatever meaning we give absolutely anything is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, and then there again, it's your belief system, right?
Yeah.
So you believe it's going to be this way, so that's what it is.
Yeah, because we create our
But
reality.
when he explained it, you can look at that all day long, but until he showed examples of how that works with people that are ill or getting treatments or whatever, that you go, well, there's proof of that, and we all know that proof. We just can't apply it to ourselves.
Yeah, well, we can. We're just practicing.
We can, we just are having a hard time applying it to ourselves.
Yeah, interesting.
I've been seeing some real, it's kind of exponential for me at the moment, because since I changed my focus from online to local community, things are just starting to fall in my lap, and I'm starting to see that the next thing, and people are contacting me and friending me on Facebook from my local community and saying, can we meet up just to get to know each other, because I want to meet more people in my community who are like-minded. And that's the exact goal that I set for this first part of the year. And I'm getting hunches to go and see, like, for example, when I went to the healing centre, I was told that they were fully booked with healers already. So I picked my daughter up from the shops, and it was just around the corner. If I'm going to go there anyway, I just had a feeling. Went in there, they had a room available on that day that I don't have my childcare business open. And I've been volunteering at the spiritual centre on Saturdays, and I've been having at least 2 clients come through on those days to practice my work. And yesterday when I went there, because today's Sunday here, yesterday when I went there, there was a gentleman there who he just kind of downloads knowledge, and he has all this knowledge about the earth and where we're from and our physical presence here and our spiritual. He knows all this stuff that we're learning, and I was just able to ask him lots of questions, and he said that he'd be available to come and sit in on my book study that I'm starting next Monday evenings at the Spiritual Centre. I've already got 20 people interested in coming.
Wow.
It's all just like falling in my lap at the moment, because, and the more that it happens one step at a time, the more I'm believing, right, I'm doing this myself with my mind, and I've spent 4 years practicing, getting my head around it. So now I'm actually applying it, and the more I see it happen, the easier it's becoming for me to do. It's quite amazing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Sounds like you're having the what is it? I don't know why I wanted to say that. It's kind of side effects of all the efforts you've been putting into learning.
Breakthrough.
Absolutely. It's all starting to. I'm having the seed of the equivalent benefit of all the hours of study and things that I've done. Yeah, it's really great.
That's amazing.
And so we can do it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
True.
Just keep going. Don't give up. Well, there you go. Persistence and never give up.
Yeah. I've started to kind of notice that too. How where the more you clear away whatever whatever interferes with the thought you're broadcasting and receiving in alignment with what your true intentions and desires are, then the more it's like then the more you're like a magnet. Drawing the support.
I've felt like I've been using two things. One is just the intention to give, because I know that the universe will look after me if I do that. So I've been doing that big time. And the other thing is thinking about, like, for example, we took the children on an excursion to Port Douglas, and it's the coast road, and it's so beautiful. The water is clear at the edges. It's on the side of the rainforest mountain, and out in the distance the water is so blue. And I had children in the car, so I couldn't look at the view very much, but just the glimpses that I got, I kept them in my mind, and it just made me feel so good, and like just taking deep breaths of, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. And I've brought that back with me, and I'm using those thoughts and feelings as much as I can every day, because it doesn't have to be the goal that you're thinking about that makes you feel good. It can be anything, as long as you've got that vibration happening.
Exactly.
So I'm just using everything at my disposal to just feel good all day.
Yeah. Well, that's like that recording that James Godin had suggested that I have on my phone, where I found some really relaxing, inspirational music, and there's birds singing in the background and stuff. And then I recorded that my voice that says why I love my life, and I just talk about where I live and what I do and what it feels like, and it just makes me feel so good. And I listen to it before I go to sleep, and my mind just settles right down.
Which one?
It's just something that I made on.
Okay.
I put it on my phone.
Oh, you made your own. Did your own thing and recorded it?
Yeah.
Cool.
It was like, I'm so happy and grateful for. But I'd say, oh my gosh, I love my life so much, and this is where I live. I live, in this beautiful oceanfront property, and it's tropical, and listen to the birds singing, and I just kind of talk about my life as if I'm already living it, right?
Yeah, and you're very auditory, aren't you, Cheryl? You like music, and that's what gets you going. That's what steps up your vibration.
Exactly. And the music I happened to find it's just very. It's so relaxing, and it's so uplifting. Like, it's not like energy uplifting, but it's just you feel really good, and you can hear the birds singing in the background, and the only thing missing is the sound of the waves, but I talk about how soothing they are and stuff. So yeah, it's very very good to just keep trying and change your vibration as often as you can during the day, I think. And that's what James is trying to get across. Listen to it as many times a day as you can.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting
That's
about
cool.
that? It's kind of like an auto-suggestion to the
It is.
emotional system, isn't it? Because you're training your emotional system to go there more and more
Yes.
often.
And the thing is, and if you record it as such that you're already acting as if, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's another factor that we've heard and read many, many times, is that you have to be emotionally attached, but you also have to act as if you've already achieved your goal,
Yeah.
living in it right now.
Yeah, because then that's what you'll be sending out to the ether. That
Right. Instead of lack. Instead of I was happy when, you say I'm happy now because.
Yeah. And even things that aren't ideal that you still really appreciate, it's still that essence of I have this and I love it that you're sending out.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Because the universe doesn't know whether it's a Mustang that you're appreciating or your high-ace bus that I have that carts the kids around. That I love and appreciate that so much because it's so reliable, and I've been using it for 8 years, and the kids love it. And the kids with their parents see it around the place. They go, "Oh, there's Nicole!" So it's become like a signature. You know, it's got so many bad points. You can't park it anywhere because it's too high and it's getting old and it gets trashed inside because it's got kids coming out in and out all day. But I just really appreciate it and love it for so many reasons. And the universe doesn't know if I'm appreciating and loving my Hi-Ace or if I'm appreciating and loving a Mustang, which is my gold car.
That's your dream car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And I parked next to one twice in this past week and saw one drive past, and they're so rare in Cairns.
Are they?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. The 2016 model. I think there's only 3, and I've seen all 3 this week.
Oh.
Right next to 2. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all these little hacks that we can use to get the right message going out into the universe.
You know, I read a book, and I'm reading it the second time, and I don't know if I have mentioned this book to you. We've really never chatted about this author at all, but I find his way of talking about things very really hit home to me too. He's more contemporary than Napoleon Hill, of course, and it's Mike Dooley. And his name's Mike Dooley.
Oh, Mike Dooley. I've heard that name.
Yeah, and his book is called, he's got a couple of books, but the one that I have read and I'm on the second go around is called Infinite Possibilities, I believe. And he gives some examples of some exercises that you can do to get your mind into the right vibration. And he also talks about you know, why we're here and how you've chosen where you are. You predetermined it before coming into this life, and that you know that what's going to happen afterwards, that you know it's not over when we're and you know what, I have found so much comfort in the way he explains things. It's unbelievable. I really have enjoyed his book as well. There's so many good authors out there that just, you know, some of them resonate with you more than others, or maybe you're just ready for them when you get, you know, when you start reading them, that maybe you had to read somebody else as a prerequisite to be able to understand what they're saying.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been interesting.
Yeah. It's really, I like the way in line 86 he's talking about how our other self is more powerful than the physical self.
Yeah.
And learning to trust the messages from our other self and have our ear out, so to speak, for them.
And like when I was reading, and I paused there about how, you know, the testing that's been done on the brain about the nerve cells and you know, the potential in the system and everything, that you can't possibly believe that something this fantastic was created just to work our physical body. That was really
Yeah.
interesting to me. And, you know, I don't remember reading that the first time around.
Nope. Me either.
Really? Like, that just makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't think of his name when I was reading this earlier, but it's just come to me. Joe Dispenza, who does a lot of
Yes.
work with the neural studies.
Yes.
What is
Yeah.
it called? Neuroscience. He would be a good one if you wanted to learn more about the quantum.
Yeah. I started reading some of his stuff as well. I think I've got one of his books too on PDF. And I can't remember. Nicole, you had been reading it too. I think you've read it once through. And it wasn't that long ago. It was in the winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been reading Bruce Lipton, the Biology of Belief.
Oh, it's an amazing book. I got to listen to that book.
You know what? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. And then I have been watching Joe Dispenza on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, so have I. He's
I like
brilliant.
listening to him too.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't this sentence interesting on line 115? He knows but little concerning the physical brain and its vast network of intricate machinery through which the power of thought is translated into its material equivalent. And so when we're talking about neural pathways, because a lot of in coaching is about setting up new neural pathways for us to be able to form new useful habits, they're the material equivalent of thought. So when we set up a neural pathway, it's so much easier to have that thought. It just comes naturally, like old habitual thoughts that we can't get rid of, that we need to not allow ourselves to think about, so that neural pathway withers away and dies. It's just the material equivalent in our brain, the neural pathways.
Well, that's true. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, because each time we put that electrical charge through with that spiritual thought, we're creating a physical channel for that thought to be able to continue. So that's why auto-suggestion works so well. And also getting yourself into a vibrational state, I think, would also cause a neural network to form, which would then be part of your physical body, which makes it easier for you to get into that state. And that's why practicing over and over again with our thoughts and state are so important, because then they become a physical part of our brain.
Good point.
Yeah, for sure. That is a good point. There's so many ways of looking at it, right? And just to put it all together so that the light bulb just goes on. It's just working towards that, right?
Yeah, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, isn't it?
It is.
And the more bits that go in, the more it makes sense. And that point relates to that point. Now I see how that one works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone explains it differently.
Yes.
And when I sometimes learn something else, like, for example, how Bob Proctor explains the law of polarity, I relate that back to how Napoleon Hill talks about the seed of equivalent benefit. Because for every negative thing that happens, a positive thing will happen. And Napoleon Hill calls it the seed of equivalent benefit, but it's the same.
Same concept. Yeah. Exactly.
And sometimes you'll pick it up better from a different way of being explained.
Yes. Yeah. And I think there's a benefit to reading certain books over and over, because you'll get more out of them. But there's also benefit to reading other authors, because sometimes you will resonate better with somebody.
Exactly. And I've heard a lot of people say, I'm not going to read too much of stuff. I think that if you follow your desire of what you get the urge to read it. Because that's your higher self giving you that desire to go and do it. You don't get a desire unless it's coming from your higher self.
Yeah,
and this
that's a good
tells
point.
us that it's the smarter one. it's the more powerful one.
Yeah.
So if I've got a desire to read something, I'm going to go and read it because there's a reason for that urge. So I
Yeah,
don't ignore my urges anymore.
that's a good point.
Yeah. And I guess if you've got an urge not to look at other books, then that might be an urge to follow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, I really like the description or more in-depth description about why the mastermind works too at the end of the chapter. Like I understood that in theory that, you know, more than one mind actually, like when you put two brains together, the power is greater than the sum of those two. And so I understood that in theory, but this really explained it, how with three people that they're actually like drawing, each one of those three people are drawing from the ether.
Yeah.
So wow, look at all the input you got going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exponential, right?
Exactly. And you can feel that energy happening. Like if you even get together informally with 3 or more people, the energy's heightened. And if you're getting into a really good conversation about something, you don't want to go home because it's a really nice feeling and you kind of stepped up.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
So
point.
you can see how that energy raises when there's a group together.
I can tell you guys a perfect example of that. There's this guy. I don't know if you ever heard of the name Paul Hutchins. I think it's is it Hutchins or Hutch? He is oh my gosh, he's incredible. He has started a mastermind call in that everybody does. It's free. But he has it structured. He uses let's see, what is it called? Oh, we are Think and Grow Rich. And it's Paul Hutchins. He basically started this. He did study Think and Grow Rich. He does do that. Their group is now studying, doing lessons on the law of success. And basically it's just remarkable. What he does is he's got it set up where, you know, it uses the principles that Think and Grow, think into results suggested, you know, and steps and following it, so that when people talk, they have like, you know, you can have up to like maybe 3 minutes when they're sharing. But what's really incredible about this is that, in fact, if you want, I can give you a link. You can listen to one of their the calls, kind of get a feel for it. Just the vibration of the energy is just really dynamic. And you got these people coming together, and then it just grows.
Sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
Like that.
Listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can give you that. It's in anybody. He's got a private group. So if you decided you wanted to be a part of that, and I guess there's a process to be able to do that. Let's see, I'll give you this. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. So it's well, okay. That's right. You guys. I thought, geez, let me just give it to you. I'm having to. So I'll go back on Skype, and then that way I can give it to you instantly. Because I'm connected with you through the Zoom on my iPad, but got to go into the Skype to my computer to do that. Just make it easy for you. Okay, so, but should I give you a PM, or should I put it into the group?
Just pop it in the group. That way, if anyone else wants to have a look, they can.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, it's interesting how he talks about how when at least three come together, I think 2 would work as well. But they're talking about a specific problem or a specific topic.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's been in communication with unknown sources of knowledge, definitely outside of his own experience.
Yeah, that is so cool, hey?
Yeah. Because I remember, I don't know if it's in this book or if it's on an audio where he talks about so many times he's experienced a mastermind group coming together, and the answer to the topic that they're talking about often comes from the least educated one in that area.
Oh, no, I hadn't heard that. It must be in a
Mm.
different, although, like I said, sometimes you read something and it just doesn't sink in the first time. But, well, that's an interesting concept, hey?
Yeah, and I wonder whether, maybe they're just more open because they're not so educated with definite foundation of how things work in that area.
There are
More open to ideas coming in.
paradigms in that area, exactly.
Or maybe they're just the one who's most stepped up to be able to receive that thought.
Yeah,
Mm.
interesting.
It's real. I love it. It's so cool.
And so it says, I think in the next chapter, he mentions that he's going to be talking about the invisible counselors. So I'm going to read about that again. I thought about that a little bit.
Yeah. In the book that Lorraine was talking about, You Can Work Your Own Miracles, he goes into those there as well.
Okay.
Which is quite good. He held back a bit in the early days from talking about them, and he actually stopped having that counsel.
Yeah, I
It became
think
too real, and it scared him a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think he does mention it in the next chapter that he stopped and why. I just can't remember what exactly he said about that.
He's talking about how they kind of started taking on their own personality and doing their
Right.
own thing, that he wasn't really controlling it anymore. So
Right.
he got a bit nervous about that.
Oh, so I think I would get freaked out too.
In the book, actually, he's talking more about the guides that he sets up, the guide for his personal health, the guide for money. He's got 4 or 5 different guides who he acknowledges and thanks on a daily basis, and who just automatically take care of those aspects of his life.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is really cool.
Yeah.
nice.
Because from what I've learned, we have a whole group of unseen forces with us for our adventure on the earth. So, they're just waiting for us to acknowledge them, so that they've come there with us to help us to do this growth and expansion with them. So we just need to let them in.
Yeah, and we have to let them in and accept them. And who that reminds me of is Abraham, because Abraham isn't really just one person. It's or one. You don't even want to say person. What would you call it? Spirit.
Yeah, entity. They use that word as well.
Yeah, it's a group.
Yeah.
So that's kind of is a simile to Napoleon's Hill's group of guides, right?
Yeah, exactly. And once he acknowledged that they were there, they look after him. And he said that he never got sick, and he said he got a small cold once, and he realized that was because he hadn't taken the time to be in gratitude to his guide for physical health. So he fixed that up quickly and made sure that he was being grateful. More regular.
Gratitude.
Yeah, I wonder too that if somebody is doing all that they can, or that and that if they still seem to be having challenges like in the areas of health and in their wellness and other areas of their life, that that it's good to look at other influential factors, the environmental, or even in the location where you reside too. I'm not really into astrology so much, but I just had a locational astrology reading, and it was really interesting to recognize how the energies of the planets, how it can impact us or affect us. And so, and I know for sure, like, I've been to another area about 4 years ago. I was, at this other state, like in Arizona for 9 weeks, and it felt like I felt very grounded. It's like it was just really natural for me to be there, and as opposed to the energies of where I live now. And that's really
People
interesting.
say things like that too, Callie. I know somebody that she was telling me she has a cabin somewhere in other place in Canada, and she said when she goes there, she just feels like this is where she's supposed to be. This is home.
Yeah.
And so I have heard other people talk about that.
So that's what I'm working on.
So you could spend time taking on the essence of the feeling that you felt when you're at the other place, and remember that one positive thought is more powerful than lots of negative thoughts. So you can outdo that negative vibration of the area that you're in, and use your mind to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it was explained to me, what it was that was, the forces of the planet, the energy influences of the planets, what the alignments were for, that was around about the times when I've had my accidents, because I was having a series of them, and I was also told that the worst of it is over.
Oh, good.
And I was told we're never to live. It was my case was considered to be a stumped case, because so I'll get refunded all but $50, but it was because he just wasn't really totally sold on it, what he was giving me, but he was telling me like places like, was telling me, because I was interested to find out about Italy for some reason, and Australia, and so he was giving me some different insights about it. And that, if I were to go to Italy, that, it could be a house of marriage, but yet it could be challenges with money distress and health challenges. It's like, I don't think with the influences of the planets, the way they're lined up. And he told me that it was like, for me personally, that, that right now, at least for the next few years, that because of in Australia, he says no. He says Italy, I wouldn't recommend it. And and then he mentioned to me somewhere between Spokane and Boise, Idaho, and I'm like, that's pretty cold up there. And then when he mentioned about because I had also, one of the places I wanted him to look into for me was in Arizona, somewhere around in Sedona, or maybe a little bit around out there, like that's not quite down in the hot desert like Phoenix, but like Flagstaff. And he mentioned about Flagstaff and Preston, and that's much better than Boise, Idaho.
Yeah. Well, what did he say about that?
Well, he said that about, you mean like over in Arizona?
Yeah.
He says that, it would be Pluto trine. He said that it could be more, be more supportive for me than being where I am. And that he said that if I go to Arizona out there, that it can be pretty strong for me, but yet, it could be, he said that you could attract wealthy people into your life.
Oh.
And it's that I would find myself busy, which is, I have a restless energy anyway, so it'd be suitable as long as I am tuning into working with my being on getting the gut response, responding to life and things based on that gut feeling, like this is right, or as opposed to what I may pick it up on somebody else. And so I just have to really, and that's been what I've been working on now anyway, is the learning, recognizing that. Now, if I go up to eastern Washington, like Spokane, anywhere between there, Spokane and Boise, Idaho, the energy is would be more settling than where I'm at now. There'll be a different energy, but like I said, it would be colder over on if I go to Idaho.
Yeah, you should have been here 2 weeks ago. It was
How is the
like,
weather now, Cheryl?
it's much better. It's actually, we've had some snow melting. It's been like -1 kind of Celsius stuff. It's snowing
Yeah.
a little bit right now, but like we had some days where it was with the wind chill, it was like -45 Celsius. It
Yeah.
was so brutal here for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
Can I talk to you guys about some processing without being recorded?
Yep, I'll stop the recording now. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.